Looking back at the video games that came out in 2018, I can definitively say that 2018 has been one of the years in video game history. And the games that came out, they're just some of the video games of all time. Yeah, those are both true. 2018 wasn't the best year or the worst year, it was just a year. It had a lot of bad games, it had a lot of good games, and I played a lot of them, and I'm going to talk about my top 10. Because I was going to talk about all of them, but then I realized that making videos is really hard, and I'm not like a YouTuber, I don't have to do this. So, also just for the record, I have not played any of these games, so none of them are on the list in any capacity. Maybe I'll play some of them in 2019, probably Red Dead 2, I'm sure I'll get around to that. It was expensive, man, and I don't really like Rockstar games all that much. I don't know. Maybe it sucks. Who knows? I don't know. I'm sick, if you can't tell. Okay, top 10 games. I've been looking forward to this all year. I'm weirdly obsessed with top 10s. I don't know why. Why am I like this? Help. Way back in the horrible hell month that was January of 2018, there were two sort of similar indie games that came out at almost the same time and ended up unintentionally competing with each other. Iconoclasts and Celeste. They were released within 2 days of each other. They were both pixel platformers from relatively well-known indie devs. They were the same price, they sold about the same, and they both had really good reviews. However, between Iconoclasts and Celeste, it was Celeste that ended up taking off. Celeste is a pixel platformer, which, oh dear god, I'm so sick of those. But this one has quite a bit of heart, and not just in the story or anything like that, but in the actual game design itself. You can tell Matt Thorson really cared about making a good platformer. Celeste has two major pros, and that's really all it needed. Excellent game mechanics, and excellent level design. Boom. You got a perfect platformer. Now, Celeste is an ultra-hard platformer. It's very much in the same field as Super Meat Boy, but I think it does something really clever, where the credits run before it gets really hard. So you got the nice little cute story, and then the story gets out of the way, and the game is just the game. In my opinion, the B-sides and the C-sides are the game. That's when it becomes Celeste. That part is why it's on this list. The first part is great, it's well made, but the game really shines post-credits. So don't think you've actually beaten the game unless you've beaten it. I haven't beaten it, I'll tell you that right now. So yeah, of the two January indie games, Iconoclast and Celeste, I gotta say, I really like Celeste. But, I mean, Iconoclast is just the better game. It's just better. Where Celeste succeeds in game design and level design, Iconoclast also does, but I also like its story and characters a lot too. And the bosses, oh my god, we'll talk about those in a minute. It's a much shorter game, it's an easier game, but it's not trying to be a platformer. It also gets described as a linear Metroidvania. I don't think it's that either necessarily. If I had to compare it to a game, which I found surprisingly hard given the fact that it's a pixel platformer, the one that came to mind was actually Yoshi's Island. I don't know, just the way the world is laid out, just the way the puzzles and the platforming works, trust me, it reminds me of this game. The plot is actually really complex. It's all about, you're a mechanic, and, there's ivory, and there's a religion. Okay, I don't really remember the plot. I have no idea what's going on in this game. But the characters are really fun, and the world building is really good. You understand everyone's motivation enough to really understand the emotional character moments. It all works, trust me, it just works. But you may have to check the wiki if you want to know the exact plot. But the boss battles are fun. All in all, Iconoclast is a very satisfying combination of gameplay and narrative storytelling. And no one played it. It's one of the most overlooked games of the year. But can you guess what game is even higher on the list? What game I felt more deserving of the top 10 than Dead Cells? Nope, I'm not kidding. If you haven't played Tetris Effects, you probably don't understand how it could possibly be in the top 10 games of the year, but just play it. It is hypnotizing. For a while now, people have been trying to find ways to improve upon Tetris, which is already one of the most perfect puzzle games ever made, and usually additions to Tetris kind of subtract from the experience, but in this case, the pure audiovisual spectacle of Tetris Effect adds something to Tetris that I never expected. A weird sort of emotional resonance, an audiovisual brain massage, a feeling of being washed over with pure comfiness, a complete mesmerization, and a drive to keep going because you don't want to mess anything up, because if you do, then it'll mess up the audiovisual experience. It's a weird way to keep the gameplay motivating. On one hand, I don't want to spoil the visuals for this game too much because they're just so interesting to see what's next. But on the other hand, I kind of just want to let them play. Just look at this. Also, it definitely has the best soundtrack of the year. Here's a level that uses your Tetris movements to make freeform jazz. And here's a level that's just straight up satanic cult brainwashing. And it would work on me. I want to worship Satan after playing this. These are just a few examples, but every level in Tetris Effect is breathtaking.
The researchers gave this phenomenon a name.
And it had the best trailer of all time, too. Number 7. That's the wrong game. That's not even a game, that's just stock footage. Into the Breach is a turn-based strategy game that is absolutely unlike any other turn-based strategy game I've ever played. It's so small, it's so densely compacted, that it immediately becomes more of a puzzle game than anything else. It's an exercise in minimalism. Every grid is 8 by 8, and that entire grid is just chaos at all times. You're given almost all the information that you need to know what's going to happen in the next turn.
Like, this building's fucked.
Your only objective is to prevent aliens, or Vec, from destroying the power grid by any means necessary. Killing them, moving them around, pushing them around. In fact, pushing enemies becomes immediately more useful than killing enemies.
What are you thinking?
Well, I was thinking if you push one enemy one way, it could lead him to hit a different enemy, but he won't do enough damage and the other enemy attacks first, so it doesn't matter. Do that. Push him. Push him. Yeah, there's really not a lot you can do here. This to me is
in the hardest levels, it becomes a game of compromise. Sometimes you may have to let a Vec destroy a piece of the power grid to save a Vec from destroying even more of the power grid. Sometimes you may have to jump in front of a Vec and sacrifice one of your own mechs.
There's nothing I can do about him. And also save the power plant, which is important.
Yeah?
There's nothing I can do.
I agree.
It is an extremely unique experience.
Save the power plant.
I liked it a lot more than I liked FTL. And I'm really happy to see this game getting so much praise. It's a game that's always expecting something else from you. It's really hard to master, but when everything goes just right, oh man, it's so satisfying.
If we punch him... Nope. Nope. Damn it. Didn't work. Everything failed.
But that almost never happens.
Oh. Let's reset.
Good God, I'm a fucking hipster. I've already mentioned 4 games. One of them was a pretentious Tetris remake, and 3 of them are indie games with pixel art. Come on, okay. Next game is going to be big budget, it's going to be Square Enix, it's going to be Nintendo, and there's not going to be any pixel art. Oh wait. Okay, to explain why this game is both on this list and not my game of the year, I'm gonna have to do kind of a compliment sandwich, where I say a good thing, and then I criticize it, and then I say another good thing. Okay. Good thing. Since I was just talking about pixel art, let's talk about the visuals. Oh my god. 2018 had a lot of games with a lot of really good visuals, Return of the Obra Dinn, Tetris Effects, God of War, apparently. But number 1 best visuals of the year is Octopus Traveler. This game is absolutely gorgeous. Something about staying in that SNES art style, but still making it look as beautiful as a modern game, is perfect, because it allows the world to feel bigger, because your imagination sort of meets the art style halfway. Going alongside the visuals, the soundtrack is the best of the year. I know I said Tetris Effects had the best soundtrack of the year. No, Octopus Traveler has the best soundtrack of the year. Okay, compliment sandwich time. Now we've got the criticism. So, I know I've been talking about this game like it's my game of the year, and I will talk about it like it's my game of the year after this. But the writing is not the best. It's not bad, okay? It's very, very standard JRPG writing. You've got your ex-knight who just wants to live a simple life because he was betrayed in his past. You've got the secret royalty who has a revenge plot. You have the extremely devout healer who loves Jesus, etc. They're all kind of cliches. And every single one of these characters gets betrayed 1,000 times. And their stories never properly cross, which was kind of devastating for me, because I was really, really wanting that to happen. Ultimately, they do feel like they're all part of the same cohesive world, which is a benefit. And each of the individual stories, they kind of feel like mini JRPGs in their own. And the only one that I really loved was Primrose's, and everyone else's was okay. And some of them were just not really that good. Sorry. Just admit it. Just admit you don't like it! Fine. I don't really like the writing. Okay, third half of the compliment sandwich. I don't know how this metaphor is working anymore, but now let's praise it some more. I'm just gonna say this. The combat is some of the best turn-based JRPG combat I have ever played. Ever. It's so perfect. It's so smart. It's so well designed. It's so perfectly balanced. It's engaging. It's exhilarating. It makes you feel like a genius every time you pull off something crazy. That's what kept me playing for over 100 hours and an entire month of my life. Man, if they had gotten that story together, if they had really put their all into that story, this would have absolutely been Game of the Year, but just couldn't quite get there. But I don't want to end it on a negative note. I'm gonna say Octopus Traveler is a very special game. It's definitely worth playing if you're into JRPGs. If you're not into JRPGs, it's not gonna convert you. It's very, very standard. And you know, while it is definitely flawed, parts of this game are some of the best parts that the genre has to offer, in my opinion. Okay, I have made fun of God of War a little bit here and there, but the AAA Western industry, for the first time in a long time, has put out some amazing single-player games. Back to back, just huge successes, one after the other. And if I'm being honest, hands down, the best one that falls into this category is number 5 on my list.
Pizza time.
Seemingly on the surface, there is nothing exceptional about Marvel's Spider-Man, the 2018 Spider-Man game from Insomniac. It doesn't really do anything new or exciting or engaging with the gameplay. It doesn't have some grand emotional narrative. The visuals are pretty standard AAA visuals, and yet I can't deny just how much fun I had playing this game. From beginning to end, it was just fun. And I mean, that's kind of important to me. By the end of Octopus Traveler, I was kinda sick of it, not gonna lie. By the end of Spider-Man, I was really sad that I had to return it, because I rented it. That's how little faith I had in this game, okay? I hated it at every single E3 it was at. I participated in the Puddlegate memes. I was so not interested in this, and as soon as I played it, I was in love. It brought me back to how much I loved Spider-Man as a kid, and as a teenager, and as an adult, and as a right now. And just playing it, it immediately felt like so much more than just another Arkham clone. The gameplay has a way of perfectly making you feel like you are Spider-Man. Yes, it has Arkham-y punches and kicks and stuff like that, but in almost every scenario, it's usually more beneficial to use your webs in combat, which is what Spider-Man would do. He's a little twink boy. He's not fighting. He uses his webs. The way the gameplay just sort of naturally encourages you to use your webs in combat and in just general gameplay, it's so smart. For example of use in general gameplay, I don't think I even noticed that this game had a fast travel. Did you? Did you use it? I didn't. Every single mission, every single waypoint, I would web swing there. Web swinging around the city, I can't personally say if it's better than Spider-Man 2 or not, or if it finally reaches that height, because I haven't played that game in over a decade. I can personally say that, honestly, it feels pretty great. I would say half of my gameplay was just swinging around in the city, and whether or not it's perfectly, minutely, exactly as good as it was in Spider-Man 2, doesn't matter to me, because it was thoroughly enjoyable to do. After I beat the game, I spent, I don't know, an hour or so just trying to recreate the ending of one of the Raimi movies where Spider-Man always swings towards the camera. I don't know why I did that. I was just having fun. I didn't want to put it down. And speaking of Raimi movies, the soundtrack is very similar to the Danny Elfman soundtrack in the Raimi films. The inspiration is definitely there. As far as stories go, I liked it. It was a pretty good Spider-Man story. It had Dr. Octopus, who's my favorite Spider-Man villain. The boss battles were always fun and exciting, especially when the boss battles crossed over with other boss battles and now you're fighting two at a time. Stealth gameplay was actually surprisingly fun, and I ended up webbing an entire room of thugs so that it was just this horrible, garish nightmare of bodies hung from the ceiling in spider webs. I don't know, it felt really good. It was fun. Now, the game's not perfect, of course. There are some slow segments when you're playing as Action Mary Jane, having to, you know, stealth through areas like that. Probably could have missed me with that, but ultimately, can't deny how much fun I had. I've probably said the word fun about 1,000 times, because that's just the word that comes to mind. Of all the games that I played in 2018 that I'm excited to play again in 2019, I think this might be top on the list.
So, should we kiss now? Yeah, maybe later.
Hi, how you doing? How you liking the video so far? Yeah, me neither. So, let's just get comfy for just a second, and let me talk about my process with my top 4. Because this was so genuinely difficult. You know, I love all the games in my top 4. I don't think any of them are 10 out of 10s, but I was surprised by just how difficult it was for me to pick a Game of the Year this year. Not because they didn't deserve Game of the Year, but because all of them deserved Game of the Year. My entire top 4 are games I strongly considered for the number 1 spot. So, I'm still not confident in numbers 4, 3, and 2. They could just about be shuffled in any order. And I'm just barely confident in my Game of the Year, right? I could change my mind at the drop of a hat at any point next year. If I do, I might make a video updating it. I'm probably not going to do that. But, here we go. The top 4 games of the year, aka my 4 game of the years, aka the 4 most different games in the universe. And now back to our regularly scheduled, low-quality video. So what masterpiece of a game did I insult by only making it number 4 that it required such a dramatic disclaimer? Well... I'm so sorry.
Colors weave into a spire of flame. Distant sparks call to a past still unnamed. Bear this torch against the cold of the night. Search your soul and reawaken the undying light.
Trust me, it hurts to put this game so low. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is the best Smash Bros. Game, kind of hands down. It is everything I wanted from the new Smash game. Everything. I could not have asked for more. I don't even want Banjo. I'm not even one of those weirdos. I honestly don't have a whole lot to say about this game, except it's just the perfect Smash game. I mean, okay, it could have a little bit better latency, and the online could be a lot better. But beyond all of that, it's just Smash perfected. It's the Smash of the century. World of Light turned out to be the perfect single player for Smash. I love the way they integrate so many random video game characters into the Smash roster in really creative ways that you totally get. That was such a smart idea. As of January 5th, while I'm editing this, I've played it every single day since it came out. I will probably continue to play it deep into 2019. I can't wait for the DLC. I can't wait to see who comes next. The soundtrack is truly gargantuan. This is kind of the best soundtrack of the year. I know I said that Tetris Effects was the best soundtrack, and then I said that Octopus Traveler was the best soundtrack. But no, it's this. I'm having a hard time thinking of ways to praise this game that other people haven't already endlessly praised it for. And, you know, it kind of doesn't need my praise. It's kind of above that. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate really speaks for itself. Hype for this game absolutely dominated the entire world for 2018. And, you know, that kind of feels like part of the game. The hype, the build-up, the speculation, the leaks. It was all part of the experience of this game. I mean, I don't know, what more can I say? We've waited for so long, and it did not disappoint. Mr. Game & Watch, best main forever. So what game did I slide in just above Smash Brothers? It's a game about insurance. I think I've mentioned a couple times tonight that there are some games that are kind of unlike anything I've ever played, but Return of the Obra Dinn is unlike anything I've ever played. This is a one-of-a-kind game, and it could only come from Lucas Pope, the man behind Papers, Please. Return of the Obra Dinn does not remind me of Papers, Please. It's so different.
Exactly what I give you!
You're an insurance agent who's investigating a ship that has washed up after 5 years of being completely missing. The crew's gone, the cargo's gone, the ship is destroyed. It's your job to figure out what happened. Now I know what you're thinking, oh, it's a boring walking simulator, it's pretentious, it's indie bullshit. No! This game is f***ed up, man. This story gets utterly insane. It makes Pirates of the Caribbean look like the pirates from Lazy Town. Actually, the pirates from Lazy Town are pretty hardcore. Sorry. It's one of the best video game experiences of the year, and I wholeheartedly recommend it to everyone. I don't want to spoil anything about this game. I feel like even saying that there's stuff that can be spoiled about this game is a little bit of a spoiler itself. Shit goes down on the ship. You're given very limited reign as to what you can see, and from that you have to determine everything. You might hear somebody say someone's name, and then you can determine who is who from that, but you're lucky to hear a name get spoken at all. You're gonna find people sleeping and determine who they are by what bed they're sleeping in. You're gonna find people with tattoos, and then you're gonna have to find the one moment in the one story in which you can see their tattoo. And the causes of death can range from anything from being shot, being stabbed, falling overboard, being thrown overboard, being crushed accidentally. I can't even tell you all the causes of death because there's some serious spoilers in that too. God, I wish I could tell you about the moment that like had my jaw on the floor. I was stunned by what I was seeing on the screen. Frozen in time. I could not believe it. Visually, this game has one color and the color white, and that is it. And yet, visually, it looks beautiful. It's so crazy. Even more than looks, this game sounds beautiful.
Captain! Open the door! Kick it in. Ah! Lest we break it down and take more than those shells! You bastards may take exactly what I give you!
The way they tell the story of this ship, the story of the captain and the crew, by jumping from death to death, backwards chronologically, is so impressive. It's absolutely the best narrative of the year, it's the best storytelling of the year, it is easily one of the best games of the year. However, the only downside to this game is that you could really only play it once, and then you have to wait until you forget everything, and then a couple years down the road you can play it again, having forgotten who everyone is. And I really wish I could talk more about it without spoiling it, but I'm not going to do that. Just play it. And just personally, after playing this, I don't think I ever want to eat crab legs again.
It's come back. Empty.
When I say best gameplay of 2018, what games come to mind? Monster Hunter World, Dead Cells, Red Dead Redemption 2, Nickelodeon Kart Racers, all excellent. But do any of these games let you get your pet raccoon addicted to space cocaine? When I said best gameplay, I meant it. I really do think this game has the best moment-to-moment gameplay of any game of 2018, including games I didn't even play, because I just know. RimWorld is very much similar to Dwarf Fortress, but a little bit easier to read, in that it is a top-down simulation game. It's kind of like Sims for sociopaths, where almost anything is possible. The amount of stories that can come from these incredibly finely tuned mechanics is truly astounding. In fact, I kind of don't even want to talk about the game, because it's excellent, and there are people who can review this game way better than I can, and you should go find them. I just want to talk about some things that have happened in this game, and that should just give you an idea. I started a new run, I discovered a new area, there were a bunch of machine gun bugs in that area, they killed my colonist, the colonist dog went insane, the dog downed the other two colonists, and the run was over. I had to start again. My colony was attacked by raiders, and literally everything was set on fire. That caused one of my colonists to have a tantrum. Her final straw was she was a little drowsy. She attacked one of my steel mini-turrets, it exploded, and then she died. I started a world with a map that had a crevice near my camp that served as kind of a funnel, and in it were some giant, deadly mega spiders. I never engaged them, I just let them be, and for just about the entire game, raiders that tried to raid me would go through the crevice and they would all get murdered by my friends. By the end of the game, there were so many corpses. I had a colonist who ended up in so much pain that he lost his mind, became obsessed with corpses, dug up a corpse, and put it on the dinner table. Just to show it. The example I used in the intro, that happened to me too. Not once, but twice, I had 9 Yorkshire Terriers randomly come onto my map and become my pets with pre-made names, and I made a warm little house for them. And a lot of them died. I had a colonist build herself into a room by accident. I had another colonist named Guts who was downed by a tortoise, so I changed his name. I got hit by a sudden toxic fallout storm. It lasted for weeks. We had to survive on the food that we had. It killed all my crops. Everyone was trapped indoors. They were so bored they started fist fighting each other. And my pet rat developed dementia. Then I had something called a rare thrumbo enter my colony. I thought I would kill it for its rare fur. It was the most traumatic thing I've ever seen in a video game. I'm still not over it. And those are just the things that happened to me. RimWorld is an unforgettable experience. It will never be the same. And it is hands down the best gameplay of the year. RimWorld is kind of a masterpiece.
This is our colony.
And now it's time to make the video even longer with some honorable mentions. Why not? Okay. Dead Cells. I like this game. It is a lot of genres. It's every buzzword genre. It is a roguelite, Metroidvania, platformer. It's everything. Some people really, really loved Dead Cells. I just kind of liked it. Not very good at it, so maybe that's why I didn't love it. Minute, I got this game for free. Thank you, Devolver. I tweeted about how I wanted to play it, and they were like, here, just take it. And I was like, oh, thank you. And it was 2 hours long. And it was a cute little idea, and that's about all it is. If you find it on sale for like $2, pick it up. Red Strings Club would be probably a lot better if Valhalla didn't do everything that Red Strings Club does better. It's basically impossible for me to ever recommend Red Strings Club without recommending Valhalla more. That's kind of mean. I do like the game. Bloodstained, Curse of the Moon. Holy crap. I didn't expect Bloodstained to ever be good. For some reason I was on that hate train because it's a Kickstarter that's taking way too long. But they released a little mini preview game for Bloodstained, like a little prequel in the style of Castlevania 1. And darn if it isn't good. There's not much to say. It's basically just a Castlevania clone, but with a little bit of quality of life updates. I played it twice. I enjoyed it both times. Guess what game didn't make the top 10 list? It's the game of the year, God of War. It is okay. I played it. I have already forgotten most of it. It's like a solid 7 out of 10 AAA single-player game if there ever was one. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice is very similar, and it's better in every way. Even visually, it's better. So, I don't know, man. Play Hellblade. That's my review of God of War, is play Hellblade. Far Cry 5 really breaks my heart, because in a lot of ways, it's one of the best games I played this year. Man, I have a lot to say about Far Cry 5 that I will not be able to fit into an honorable mention section. Just suffice it to say that I enjoyed it until the ending. The Messenger, I didn't like it. I'm sorry. And finally, this is the last game I cut from my top 10, and it is Frostpunk. I do really like this game, and I really recommend it if you're into city builders or strategy games. It's great. The reason I cut it from my top 10 was that earlier this morning, before recording this, I was writing down my top 10, and I forgot about it, and I only had 9, and I could not remember what game I was missing until I looked it up. So I was like, well, that kind of seals the deal. Frostpunk is good. It's only about 15 hours long, or at least it was when I played it. I'm sure there's a lot more to it now, so pick it up on sale if you get it. It's great. Okay, let's get this over with. Number 1. There is a small subgenre of games that are basically ocean exploration games. Treasures of the Deep, way back on PlayStation 1. Endless Ocean 1 and 2 on the Wii, of course, classics. And the 2016 indie hit Abzu, which looks unbelievably relaxing. Subnautica is nothing like these games.
Scans indicate this location supports a diverse and healthy ecosystem. Exploration is conducted at your own risk.
This game hit 1.0 in January, so it's a 2018 game. It's the first game I played in 2018, and nothing has topped it since. This game has been my game of the year for the entire year. Right at the end, as I was making this list, I was wondering if anything had really topped it, and the answer is no. I can honestly say that I've not had a better gaming experience in 2018 than Subnautica. On the surface, this game is a survival game, but forgive the pun, I'm sorry, I just gotta say it. This game is so much deeper than that. And we will dive deeper into its other genres, but let's not ignore the survival game, because it's an excellent survival game. In Subnautica, not only do you have to survive starving and dying of thirst, and you not only have to survive the wilderness, you have to survive your environment. You're underwater. Just being outside for 45 seconds will kill you. Eventually, as you build your tech up, survival becomes less and less of the focus, and the focus shifts more to exploration. But during this phase, Subnautica offers one of the most unique survival experiences I've ever played. And stemming from the survival game is the base building game, which you can play Subnautica purely as an underwater base building game if you want. People make the most impressive bases in this game. And tying into both base building and survival is the exploration. As you unlock new tech, you unlock the ability to explore further and deeper, exploring new biomes, deeper and deeper levels, and more horrific situations. As soon as you think you've reached how deep the game gets, it goes deeper. And the things you're discovering are so new. There's always something new, something more fascinating, something more beautiful, something more terrifying. And speaking of terrifying, Subnautica is also a horror game. It's one of the most terrifying games I've ever personally played. I went back to collect some footage for this game, and God, it just, the anxiety of just seeing nothing in front of you. Because I know what's out there. There's a Reaper out there. I know it. I just can't see it. What's a Reaper, you might ask? Reapers are just the scariest shit I've ever seen. This one is the one that lives behind the Aurora. He's the noob trap. Everyone runs into him first. His name is Sammy, and he has killed me. For the entire 90 hours I played Subnautica, I never stopped being terrified of Reapers! There are other monsters in the game, I'm fine with all of those. This one still gets me. Also, I'm not fine with all of those other monsters, I lied, they're terrifying too. The scariest thing that happened to me in Subnautica, I got on video. I was walking around in my prawn suit, and I decided to jump down a trench and explore. I explored for a while, I collected some items that I needed, and when I went to go leave, I realized I couldn't leave. I was trapped down there. I jumped down a trench, what did I expect? The prawn suit has a grappling hook. It's very difficult to use. This is footage of me desperately trying to grapple my way out of this trench using only the grappling hook. It's pitch black, and everywhere around me are warpers, a leviathan that can kill you. I cannot see them, I can only hear them. I have no idea how close they are, I don't know if they've seen me. I'm just confused and scared, and I am certain I'm going to die. And then when I made it out of the trench, they had followed me.
Past 100 meters. Oxygen efficiency decreased. Passing 200 meters. Oxygen efficiency greatly decreased.
Welcome aboard, Captain.
This took about 20 minutes. It was the most intense gaming experience I've played all year, maybe ever. My heart was racing the whole time, and I will never forget it. I don't think you can write horror this good. And speaking of the writing, the writing!
I'm attempting a controlled descent.
Yes, Subnautica has a story, and it's a pretty good one. It's kind of a silly sci-fi premise. You crash land on this alien planet, you're the only survivor, you have to get back home. Yeah, we know. But while you're trying to survive, you get contacted by a ship that can actually rescue you. And then...
Change course. Set thrusters to full.
The story story of Subnautica from here on out is about you escaping and discovering the history of this ancient alien world, why the planet is dead, and why the planet is automated to kill anything that wants to leave. I don't really want to spoil too much of the story because I do think it gets really interesting, but ultimately the writing is kind of silly. There's a lot of plot holes, a lot of hand-waving, but I didn't care about any of that. I was too wrapped up in it. And ultimately, this survival game didn't need any story. And the way you uncover this story of a lost alien civilization, the way you get upgrades that allow for ways to explore and open up entirely new areas, slowly it dawned on me why Subnautica felt so much better than other survival games. It's a Metroidvania. I mean, it's a lot of genres. That's my point. That's kind of my whole point of my whole review, is how many genres Subnautica just nails. And while it is of course not a textbook Metroidvania, that genre is definitely in Subnautica's DNA. Discovering the deeper, darker worlds in Subnautica reminded me of discovering how deep Hollow Knight goes. But all of these elements, the story, the lore, the exceptional creature design, the absolutely bone-chilling horror, the base building mechanics, the survival game mechanics, the visuals, the art design. All of this comes together to make a game that, to me, is even greater than the sum of its parts. It's a game that combines so many different genres and elements into something completely unique. I love this game. I think it's outstanding. And that is why Subnautica is my game of the year.
Until then, well, there's always the view.
You know, I think I do take it back. At the beginning of the video, I said that 2018 was just a year. No, I think it really was a pretty good year for games. I certainly enjoyed a lot of games this year. I'm very glad to have played them. And, yeah. Video games are good. Thanks, video games. But, honestly, 2019 is already looking better. Resident Evil 2, Kingdom Hearts 3, Metro Exodus, Devil May Cry 5, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, Rage 2, Ori and the winner of Best Art Direction, Doom Eternal, Code Vein, Metroid Prime 4, Bayonetta 3, and Death Stranding. So many amazing games that are gonna lose Game of the Year to Cyberpunk, if it comes out. Until then, I'll see you next year. Trainwreck of the Year coming soon. Stay tuned.